Hi, everyone. Welcome to Psychic Connection, Collaboration over Competition. And today it's my pleasure to introduce you to Claudine Walk. Hi, Claudine.
Hey, Phyllis, how are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on. Well, I love to jump right in. So let's start with the first question. Now, I know women multitask and we're known to do that, but boy, you're such an example of that because you multitask with different professions. So you're an accountant, a writer, a radio station host of Let's Talk on WDVR FM 89.7, and you host your own podcast, Stories and Strategies for Women. So I'm going to ask the age old question. How do you juggle it all?
Oh, there is an actual answer to that question, and it isn't too much of a mystery, really. My children all left.
That makes it easier, right?
Yeah. So once my youngest went off to college, that's when I decided I'm gonna take a little time to do something that always wanted to do. So I
Mhm.
had the accounting job part time.
Right.
I, was dabbling in the other areas, and I decided, hey, I'd like to get into radio, and I happened upon WDVR in
Right.
Surgeonsville, New Jersey, which is a wonderful radio station. It's been around for 30 years plus.
Mhm.
And I decided to volunteer because everyone there is a volunteer. It's a
Volunteer.
not-for-profit station.
Right. Mhm.
And, I went in for a couple of issues they needed some help with Excel, and that was kind of where my strengths were.
Oh, right. Definitely being an accountant. Yeah.
Exactly. And they said, "Well, what would you like to do eventually with the radio?" And I said, "Oh, I'd like to be a host." And they said, "Well, that's probably going to take a lot of time, but
Mhm.
we'll try to get your needs met there." And they did, and they hooked me up with another broadcaster, and I watched her, and she taught me, and within a couple months, they said, "Hey, we have this opening." So that's how I
Oh,
started with Let's Talk. So
yeah.
yeah, didn't know anything, didn't know what I was doing, didn't know anything about it, but just loved it. So everything kind of sprung from there.
Right. But you're such a natural. I know you had me
Oh,
on your radio show, and I don't know, it just comes like effortlessly. I think to you, you ask these great questions and you interject and interact very well. I don't know. I think it's part of your calling.
oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely. So, yeah, so another part of your calling, right, is definitely you created a new podcast, Stories and Strategies for Women. So, just tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Stories and Strategies for Women started a couple months ago. In the new year, probably, I'd say, maybe a couple before Christmas.
Mhm.
And I just had this idea that I like to interview, and I also like to read, and I love to meet new people and talk to experts about what they're good at. And there's so
Yeah.
many women who are experts in different areas that I thought, you know what, I want to kind of share what I'm learning with
Mhm.
other women and hope that they take what they need from it. I didn't want it to be anything judgy because I was finding when I was listening to other podcasts or interviews
Mhm.
that the host was saying, this is what you should get out of this, and maybe introducing it that way. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to get out of it what I need to get out of it. And I thought, if I'm going to do a podcast, I
Right.
wanted to have that same thing. I wanted people to get what they need to get from it at the time that they need to get it and the time they need to hear it. So
Right.
basically, I'm just introducing the audience to other people who are experts in certain areas that women find interesting in general, at least I do.
Yeah. I
And
do
hope.
too.
Oh, you do too. Oh, good.
Yeah. I
And
love the podcast.
yeah, because we're all, trying to learn and grow and develop and be our best selves. And I
True.
think women are really positive about their prospects, and
Mhm.
sharing some of this information maybe would motivate someone to action or not action, because
Right.
that's also a decision, the decision not to
Not
act.
to. Yeah, that's true too. So
Yeah.
I don't know. The way you're describing it kind of reminds me a little of what Oprah always tried to do, right, on her shows. talk to different experts and give people, topics that they all, have an interest in, and you take, what you get out of it. Yeah, like you
Yeah,
said.
I hope so. I mean, that's the God, Oprah. Wow. I mean, I
Yeah.
wish.
Oh, definitely. And you know how much of a natural she is. I feel, again, you're such a natural. And
Thank you.
you really, formatted it very well. And you have very interesting people, that are on. Yeah. So, and
Thank you. You know,
I look forward to each one. I do.
oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that I think I'm good, not good, but I'm interested in asking questions is because my mother used to call me Curious George.
Oh,
I
so funny.
I asked a lot of questions from the time I was a little kid, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Well, why, mom? Well, why this and why that?" And the poor woman, working full time,
Right.
going to school at night because she wanted to
Wow.
get her degree, and
Mhm.
she didn't obviously have the opportunity before she started having babies.
Right.
And also, cooking a 3-course dinner every night, the meat, the starch, the vegetable,
Right.
every night. I don't know how she did it. And here I am while she's at the stove saying, "Why, mom? Why this? Why that? What's this? What's that?" So I think that's why, because I just have a genuine curiosity
Curiosity.
of
Yeah.
why things are the way they are,
Yeah.
or maybe how they could be different. And I love to learn.
Yeah. And you love to learn. Wow. I know. Again, it's a natural, definitely a natural. So I think definitely it's part of your calling.
Thank you.
Yeah. But what made you get into accounting?
Oh, counting. Well, that's another thing. It's funny because if you think about radio and broadcasting,
Mhm.
there's more of an artistic side to that.
Right. Exactly.
And accounting is the complete opposite,
They do. Right.
right? And I love both.
Yeah.
And I'm
Mhm.
doing both right now, which is kind of
Right.
interesting because it's hard for me to put the different hat on sometimes
Right.
because you're really using one side of the brain and then the
Right.
other
And the
side of the
other
brain.
side. True.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, accounting was, I'm very lucky because a lot of people today, their kids today, especially, they don't know what they want to do with their life. My father had gone to night school after he got married. Again, didn't have the opportunity to go before he got married, went at night, and he would have these textbooks around the house. So by the time I got older, he kept them, and I have no idea. I pulled this accounting textbook off the shelf, and I just started. I got myself a mechanical pencil, and I just started to, write in it and learn and read it, and I just found it really interesting. I know that's kind of sick, isn't it?
No, I'm an accountant too. So,
Right.
but I have a totally different story. Yeah. So, you know, what do you think about this? What do you think about the take on that? Somehow you said you were pulled, kind of drawn to that particular textbook, and it happened to be accounting, and you happen to open it up, and then you just happen to start doing some of the problems.
Yes.
I don't know. To me, I'm going to throw the word like intuitive. You were drawn to it, kind
Yeah.
of meant to be. You tapped into it.
Yeah.
So
I never
I think
thought of it that way.
yeah. I think it's a great segue to talk a little bit about your intuition. How do you feel, your intuition? How did you discover your intuition, and how does it come into play in your life?
Yeah, it's funny. I like to think that I have intuitive skills. I just feel like sometimes I'll get a dream and then
Mhm.
it'll happen,
Yeah.
or right, or I'll be
Yeah.
pushed in a certain direction and
Right.
it was the right thing to do. And I'm like,
True. Yeah.
wow, how did I come up with that one?
Right.
Um, and I think I'm trying to think some other examples of that. With the radio station, it just seems that one thing leads to another thing
Another.
leads to another thing. I get a
Mhm.
lot of ideas when I'm in the shower. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, things just pop in your head, right? And in
Right.
the shower, we're just kind of, more relaxed.
Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe it's just, that quiet time.
Mhm.
And yeah, and so things have kind of worked out that way. And with my first book, I had that kind of intuitive idea because I had self-published first,
Right.
and I had this idea that was kind of out there. I was working with a marketer, but I was doing a lot of the work and coming up with the ideas, kind of like what you're doing with your new book. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very exciting. And I just thought, you know what? I'm gonna have her send it to Dr. Laura Schlesinger. I don't know if anybody remembers
I
Dr. Laura.
remember her. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So she had this nationally syndicated radio program,
Great.
and
Yes.
she also had all these books. And I thought, I bet you she's gonna like it. And I remember the marketer saying to me, well, good luck with that. I mean, she was like, whatever, if that's what you want to do. And I had a very strong feeling that I needed to do that. And I went and did it. And here I got the producer called me and said, Dr. Laura loves it and she's going to highlight it. And so there you go. So it was just
That's
one of
your
those weird,
intuition. Your
that's it.
intuition kind of drew you there, even though you had almost like a Debbie Dowder, right? Oh,
Right.
I don't know what's going to happen. Your intuition, said, oh no, I think, I'm going to send it off. And what do I have to lose, right? But you
Right.
had that pull, and it worked out.
It
It
did.
was
It did.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or even, even just going forward with the book itself, because as you know, it's really hard. I went
Yeah.
traditional route first and ended up sending my proposal to lots of different agents, lots of different publishers, and I have a stack this thick of rejections,
Yeah.
and which was actually a good experience because I it doesn't bother me anymore. So kept at it, and here it was picked up, and the book was actually, after it was picked up by the publisher, it was sold in 2 countries. So there's actually,
Oh my gosh, that's
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah,
Wow.
there's a yeah, it's funny. It gets easier and other lies we tell new mothers in Portuguese, and there's one in Polish. And it's funny how they ended up with different book covers because those publishing companies bought
Oh,
the
they
book
changed the book
rights.
cover. Oh, I didn't know
They
that they could
did.
do that.
I'll show them to you
Wow.
sometime. They're funky.
You know what? Tell everyone the name of your book.
It's called It Gets Easier and Other Lies We Tell New Mothers.
Mm.
Yes.
Tell us
Yes.
a little bit more about it.
Well, it's a book for the new mom or the mom who has had maybe a second child,
Right.
but has a newborn. It's kind of a two-part book. The first part is some of the logistics to help with baby care. I talk a little bit about baby schedules and maybe how to just get through those first few months
Yeah,
after
they're
having a
rough.
baby. Yeah, because they're so hard. And then the second half of the book talks about how your life may have changed after having a baby, your relationship with your job, the stay at
Mhm.
home versus at home mom situation. I
Right.
talk a little bit about, I bring in Maslow's hierarchy of needs and talk a
Oh,
little
yeah,
bit about,
definitely. Yeah.
right, like how things
Mhm.
have changed and how you might want to, go forward, how things may have changed with your husband. How to
Sure.
talk through those issues. It's become like a baby shower gift because when people
Oh,
read the
yeah.
title,
What
everybody
a great
laughs.
gift.
Yeah.
Ladies, listen up. If you're looking for a baby shower gift, say it one more time.
That's it. It gets easier and other lies we tell new mothers.
So
I do.
speaking of honesty, here's another
Yes.
segue. Yes. I'm going to be very honest. You helped me with my book. You were my cheerleader. You encouraged me in so many ways. You gave me a lot of ideas on a variety of things about my book, especially marketing, because that's really one of my weaknesses is, the marketing. But what advice could you give to women, or men as well, thinking about writing a book and, the whole process?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I was going to say, in helping you, I know what's going to happen. It's like when you write a book and you self-publish, you become an expert, and you are becoming an expert, and you're also going to pass that on to someone else. You'll
I
pay that
don't feel
forward.
like an expert.
Oh, you will be for sure, for sure. I think the biggest thing to take away if you're thinking about writing a book is write it.
Just write it. Yeah,
Write it.
that's so
Um,
true. Write
it
it. Just
just
start.
write it. Just see if you can do it because
Yeah,
there are so many people who say, "Oh, I'd love to write a book and I think I could write a book." Well, write it,
yeah,
and then kind of see where you're at. If you're there is a difference between a fiction book and a nonfiction book. The
yeah.
fiction book, they definitely say, yes, write it. The
Mhm,
nonfiction book, they say you can provide an outline, some sample chapters, and you can submit that and see if anybody's interested, and then you can go from there. But I still say write it. Okay, that's number one. Number
yeah.
two, if you're serious, get a book called Write the Perfect Book Proposal by Jeff
Uh-huh.
Herman,
And yes, I
right?
highly recommend it. You told me to get it. I
Yep.
got it, and that did help a lot.
Yes, because that goes through how to write a book proposal, but it also goes through what you're going to want to
Yeah,
share in terms of marketing that book. Because your
right.
book, you really need to be solving a problem with your book. What problem do you solve? What is your book going to, what kind of stories is it going to generate? What kind of what people are you trying to reach? What's your message for those people?
Yeah,
And all about you. Why are you the perfect person to write the book? And it does it in a really kind of quickie way, you know?
right.
And then it also has sample book proposals. So it's very,
Yeah. Oh, I
you know,
love the sample.
wasn't that
Yeah,
great?
samples is very, very helpful. Yes.
Yes. So that
Yes.
would be my, so for $14,
Yes.
you can,
Well worth the investment.
it is, you can figure out, I think it's $14, but you can figure out whether or not this is something that you want to take on. But in terms of publishing itself, two big things: self-publishing versus traditional publishing.
Right.
If you're going to go to traditional publishing, you can submit a proposal either to an agent or to the publishing company directly. Biggest thing there is, if you're going to go to a publishing company directly, look under submissions, and there are always guidelines by each publisher, and follow their directions. Don't
Mhm.
send something in the way that they don't want it. You send it the way they want it. That's
Yeah.
the biggest thing.
Right.
And then if you're going to self-publish, there's all kinds of wonderful ways to self-publish that are less complicated than when I did it the first time in 2009. And
Mhm.
that is that they have this wonderful thing called print on demand. And right, you can self-publish your book without having to go through the investment of physically printing books, maybe 3,000, which is what I did the first time, 3,000 books
Wow.
printed and then, sent to your house or sent
Yes.
to your distributor,
Yeah.
which is, so it's a whole different ballgame with self-publishing. It makes it a heck of a lot easier. But the thing that you have to understand, whether you self-publish or you traditionally publish, you are expected to market that book. If you
Right.
traditionally publish, yes, you'll have a publicist, but you'll have a publicist who has several other books to publicize. And a publisher is going to want to know what you're going to do and what you can add in order to sell that book. So those are the biggest issues. And then the other piece of it, and Phyllis and I have worked through this a bit,
Yeah.
is yeah, be real careful before you hire someone to do your
To help out
interior
with.
layout, your
Right.
your
Yeah.
book cover, your some of the technical things that you need, like an ISBN number, your CIP, catalog in progress, in order for your book to be an actual book, in the Library of Congress.
Right.
Just make sure that you do your homework, because there are some folks out there who would love to take
Yeah.
your money
Very true.
and don't really know what they're doing. So my
Right.
get my the biggest clue is to ask for that person's um a recommendation from someone, and talk to that, a reference, and talk to that person,
Right.
someone who has already worked with that person, who had a book developed and published and done. And that's probably your best bet. But don't give anybody any money until you do that. What do you think, Phyllis? The
Yeah,
same?
no, I agree 100%. And that's why I'm so thankful, Claudine, that you and a woman that I hired too, Julie Marquette, called yourselves book shepherds. And they
Yes.
were excellent. They helped me through, so many steps of the process. And I felt comfortable. Both of you were amazing, and really great. But before that, I had someone that it just didn't work out. So, and that can happen, and realize it. And then,
Right.
cut the tie and then move on to, and again, I think, my intuition kind of came into play a little bit later with the first one, but then it popped in and said, okay, done. And then moved on. And, with you and Julie, it was just fabulous. And,
I'm so glad. And then what are the chances
yeah.
that we would have met and that you would have had that need, and then I would have known who to send you? And I guess that they call
Well,
that networking.
yeah, networking and I don't know, a little bit of you know, a little
Yeah.
bit of our destiny. It was meant for us to meet, for different reasons, but I don't want to forget, I do want to ask you, you are working on a second book,
Yes.
right? So did you get an intuitive feeling about what this book should be about?
Probably, yeah.
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 What do you
I
think
think
about
what
it?
yeah, I was reading about so many different issues, and once you
Mhm.
get to know me, and you probably know this already. I mean, there's
Yeah,
certain issues that I really glom onto, but
right.
in total, I'm an advocate for women for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, definitely. That comes through, yeah, beautifully. It shines through in really everything you do. Yeah, and we should be very thankful because you're
Yeah,
so, helpful and
thank you.
encouraging and engaging. Yeah.
But there are certain books that I've read over the years, and I'm a big reader,
Mhm.
that really stuck with me, and they stuck with me for different reasons. And I would go back and I would look at that book. And I don't know if you do this, but
Yeah.
I actually write in my books. I will write in my books.
Oh,
Yeah, I
oh,
do. And I
I
heard that,
don't do that. Okay.
yeah,
I've heard of people doing that. Yeah.
yeah, Henry Mercer. Yeah, I live in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and Henry Mercer is one of our famous historical figures. He owns the Moravian Tile Works, and
Mhm.
his home is made all of cement, and it is a tourist spot. And if you
Mhm.
go on the tour, they'll take you through these wonderful rooms, and it's just amazing how that guy lived. But anyway,
Mhm.
he was a lover of books as well, and I
Right.
heard and they said that he wrote in all of his books, and I thought, okay, I'm in good company. If Henry Mercer did it, I'm
Um,
okay.
yeah, that's
But I
great.
yeah. So anyway, so I'd write in these books and things would come up, and I would remember and I'd go back and I thought, I gotta share this because this is really good stuff. And
Oh,
then I
yeah.
started going back to the authors and interviewing them for Let's Talk, and the more
What a
good stuff.
great idea.
Yeah. And again, it's kind of the same idea as the podcast, and it's going to be
Mhm.
the same name, hopefully. But the idea is, here's a story, here's a
Yeah.
story, and it's a juicy story, right? Because
Well, don't
stories
we love juicy stories?
we do, and they
We love juicy
motivate. Yeah, and hopefully they entertain, but maybe there's something in there for you. And
stories.
again, not
Right.
judgmental, but hey, I found this interesting. Hopefully you do too, and you can take something from it. So there were,
Yeah, yeah.
different each chapter will be a different subject where I'm
Mhm.
highlighting an expert and going through what happened,
Great.
or an author, what
Right.
happened in their life and what they shared and kind of what
Mhm.
they
Mhm.
took from it.
Okay. Any
Yeah.
titles yet, or no, you probably
I
can't
think
share.
I love stories and strategies for women.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd love the same title,
The same
but
title, right?
yeah, but I'm going through the book process too as well,
Yeah.
so throw it out to a few agents and see if they like it too, and if they think it's, timely, but it is definitely something that's positive.
Right, right.
And, and again, women are busy people, and,
Yeah,
just a quick, one chapter bite of here's
right,
this great
right,
story,
right.
and hopefully, you can take away from it, but also, I don't know, have something to talk about when we have cocktail parties again.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's it. So, we're starting to run a little out of time. So I ask all my guests, what advice would you give to listeners about exploring or expanding their intuition?
I think the best advice is to stay open to
Mhm,
it,
mhm.
and maybe just take a few minutes to meditate. And by meditate, I
Yeah,
simply mean sit in silence, which,
right, right.
gosh, do we ever get a chance to do? You know,
We have to
wives,
make a
mothers,
conscious effort. I think we have to make that conscious effort to do
right?
that.
Right. But if you only take, I mean, oh, 20 minutes. How am I going to sit there for 20 minutes and meditate? No, no, no. Take 2 minutes and then
Right.
just sit in silence and just be open.
Open and see what comes in.
See what comes in.
Great. Well, speaking of seeing what comes in,
Uh-oh.
another great segue. Oh, you're really like feeding it to me. This is wonderful. Okay.
Good, good.
So what we always do too at the show is we'll ask two questions, that people have sent in. So ready for the first question?
Sure.
Okay, Claudine. So Lynn would like to know, when will my daughter meet her soulmate?
Hi, Lynn. When will Lynn's daughter meet
Meet
her
her
Soulmate.
Mhm.
I feel like it's going to be within 6 months to a year.
Ooh, yay, Lynn.
I hope she's not 13.
1 year. No, actually, let's see. Hopefully I have a feeling that she's probably maybe 20s.
But that's, I mean, if this is what, because you're the expert here, I've never really done this before, but if it's what something pops in your head, that's what popped in my head.
That's what happens. Well,
Okay.
it'll just pop in your head. That's one way to pick up information, and there we go.
There we go.
So, Lynn, you'll have to come back and let us know what
Please let
happens
us
within
know.
6 months or 1 year.
And good luck.
Good
Yes.
luck. So the second question is from Brian, and Brian would like to know what were signs for you to let you know about your intuition?
Oh, that's a great question, Brian. I think probably creating the book was something, my first book was something that I felt really, really strongly about. And it was something that I'd put aside and it would just keep coming back to the front of my mind
Wow, yeah,
again and
woman of God.
again and
Mhm.
again. Yeah. And I think that was my first sign
Your first.
because does that make sense?
I think it totally makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes it's like if we might get a thought, but we'll like ignore it or put
Right.
it to the side or whatever. But then, like, I feel the universe is persistent. Okay, we really want you to get this one. We're going to send it again or show up, in a different way.
My mind just kept saying, "You have to do this. You have to do
You
this.
have
You
to
have
do
to
it.
do this." I don't know why,
Yeah. It's
but
your
yeah,
intuition, part of the universe. This must come out.
right, right. You know, it's funny though that thrift. There's another website called thriftbooks.com. I don't know if you're
Oh,
familiar.
no, no.
Okay, it's a used book site and
Okay.
nationwide.
Mhm.
Really cool. So if there's a book that my son is getting into reading now that
Mhm.
he's out of school and
Right.
reading for pleasure, and he had all these books that he wanted, and they were really hard to find, and I found a lot of them on thrift books. Anyway, I don't usually do this, but I looked up my own book. Oh, I wonder if my this is after months of using the site.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, I wonder if it gets easier is on that site,
Yeah.
and it is. Let me tell you, those reviews are so nice.
Oh,
Yes,
that's
and if
great to hear.
yeah,
Yeah.
and when I read somebody write, "This really helped me
Yeah.
through my first year. Thank you so much
Oh,
for writing." I
yeah.
just,
It's
that's
rewarding,
it
right?
is. That's really what it's all about, and that was
Mhm.
really the idea. Like, I had some great help along the way.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that was it. It was just kept coming at me. Preponderance,
Yeah,
Brian. Yep, stick with
yeah.
it.
Stick with it, right? Already. Well, I am very sorry to say we are out of time, but I can't thank you enough, Claudine. This was awesome. Once again, you gave great advice as you usually do, and I so appreciate it. So when your second book is finished, we'll have to have you back again so we can talk about it.
Oh, I love that, and
Yeah.
thank you so much for having me, and good luck with your book.
Oh, thank you so much. So I also want to let everyone know if anyone would like to send in some questions, just go to www.radiancebyphyllis.com, send them in, and hopefully we can get to have them answered by our guests that we're interviewing. So once again, thank you, Claudine. Thank you, viewers and listeners, and take care and God bless.